we're back talking some more Chucky this week with episode 5 as it's just aired on the USA Network and SyFy channel. We're now officially at the midway point of the season with this episode, and I gotta say, last week's episode, the thing that really stole the show for me was that burnt up looking Chucky. He was absolutely disgusting to look at, but he was also hilarious, especially with the way that we ended off the episode with him flipping off everybody. After everything that's transpired with these characters so far this season and the stuff that they've endured, I really like that we're coming together as a group now between Devin, Jake, and Lexi to take on Chucky. For now though, Junior's not involved with the team though, so I think that's an interesting omission. I think he'll end up inevitably being added to the group though. This group though isn't without their growing pains. There are definitely clashing personalities among them, but I like the dynamic between them so far, especially Jake and Devin. Lexi isn't as bad this episode. I think she is slowly getting better as a character, but they have some great teamwork, especially later on in the episode when we get to that. Okay, so I'm absolutely on board when it comes to suspension of disbelief, especially in a series like Chucky, but I cannot believe that they actually kept the burnt up Chucky around. They didn't toss him away immediately because of how disgusting he looked. I know these parents want to keep Caroline happy, especially as she's waking up from being in the ICU, but you know she's not going to like seeing Chucky in that form. It's absolutely disgusting, and she freaks out like anyone would in that situation. It's horrifying. It did make for a good laugh, though, inevitably, when they did throw Chucky into the garbage, into this biohazard hospital garbage that they have down there, and it's covered in gross stuff and needles all over the place. As I thought about it more, Chucky does spend a lot of time in the garbage in this episode, whether it be in this scene or later on in the episode as well. But the stuff with the needles, I mean, I'm not a big fan of needles anyway. The scene actually reminded me of the trap in Saw 2 with Amanda. It's probably one of the grossest Saw traps in my personal opinion. So that's just me getting off on a tangent about Saw. Just like in every episode, we get a Charles Lee Ray flashback. It seems like we're getting older with each and every flashback as the episodes progress. This time around, he is a much older adult now. This time around, they don't have Brad Dourif as the flashback Charles Lee Ray, though, like they did in Curse of Chucky. It is a completely different actor, just they dub over with Brad Dourif's voice, which can be kind of distracting. On the whole, I do think the flashback is fine, but the dubbing of the voices do really take me out of it, as we also get dubbing for Jennifer Tilly's character, Tiffany, since the other woman in this flashback that helps Charles Lee Ray kill the other woman ends up being her. So it's an interesting one to at least see a flashback that involves Tiffany and Charles when they were both humans. The flashbacks in general, they're not my jam when it comes to this show. For me, it's more of a personal choice. I feel like I don't really need to know the backstory of Charles Lee Ray when he was a person, because I'm more interested in him as a doll, Chucky, all that stuff. But it's fine. I understand why fans would want to know his backstory a little bit more as they've changed it around as the years go on in the series. Just hoping that inevitably all the flashbacks that we get along the way as they get older will somehow tie into everything that's going on in the series right now. Speaking of Tiffany, finally Tiffany and Chucky and Nika's body finally show up in this series, making their first appearance in this episode. They're fooling around while one guy's tied up in a chair and there's another dead guy on the ground. You know, the usual stuff. As per usual, both of them are great. I always love Jennifer Tilly in this role. I'm very happy that she's going to have a more expanded role in this series because she's really not been involved all that much in the last 2 films. This whole segment, we finally get some sort of answers to the end of Cult of Chucky, because Nika's, of course, Chucky at this moment because Chucky took her body at the end of the film. But Nika, though, Fiona Dourif is doing a fantastic job in this show so far, since she does have to emulate everything that her dad does, and I think she is the perfect choice because she absolutely nails it. The voice, the mannerisms, the argument that she has with Tiffany, it's very believable that it's Charles Lee Ray and not Nika. All that, though, does lead to an interesting wrinkle in the story because Nika seems to be in a power struggle in her own body with Chucky when it comes to taking control. Since for a brief moment in time, Nika does take control of her own body again as she's talking to the guy that's tied up. You can very clearly tell it's Nika because she can't walk. I guess it's a voodoo thing that Nika can actually walk when Charles Lee Ray's in control of the body. I'm not really sure if that's the case. That's just the rationale that I've come up with for it. It has been pretty subtle up until this point, but I do think it is really sweet seeing that friendship blossom between Jake and Devin in every episode, and I think it's really hit its peak in this one, as Devin is willing to be there for Jake as he's feeling guilty for everything and holding his hand. Even later in the episode, he kisses him, which also is really sweet. It is almost a sort of forbidden love, since Devin's mom is very suspicious of Jake from the get-go, which understandably so. Just like with anything, I could definitely see some sort of backlash coming from that kiss because it is 2 gay boys kissing on screen. Personally, I'm straight. I don't mind this kind of stuff. I think it's also ridiculous that we're complaining about this stuff now, like Chucky is woke all of a sudden because he has a gender-fluid kid. Back in 2004, he had a gender-fluid kid. And then there's the whole fact that the writer and creator, Don Mancini, has been an openly gay man in Hollywood since the very beginning, so Chucky's not woke all of a sudden. Like, it's always been this way, so I don't understand why everybody now is up in arms about stuff like this. Anyways, back to the story. Lexi's parents, you know, we know they're not great after what they did in the hospital with Caroline, but at least they were nice enough to get a new good guy doll that's brand spanking new and isn't all burnt and gross looking. It was a bit sad and funny at the same time, seeing the burnt up Chucky in the window in the rain, seeing that he's been replaced, but it does play into the twist in the episode, which is a very easily telegraphed twist. Lexi's dad finds the burnt up Chucky next to Caroline and the new Chucky in bed and throws it in the garbage, and then Devin, Jake, and Lexi just pull up and beat the crap crap out of this Chucky in this trash can. I'm talking they taser it, they throw it in a bag, and they just jump it and stomp on it until it's basically nothing anymore. It was pretty awesome, even though it was very obvious that it wasn't the Chucky because it doesn't say anything. You don't hear Brad Dourif's voice at all. And you best believe if that was Chucky in that bag after he's getting stomped on and tasered, he'd be screaming. You would know that that's Chucky. But we end off the episode with an assembly. It looks like everybody is a little bit suspicious of everything going on. We're putting curfews in place and all these other rules. And the principal's supposed to walk out and say something, but only her head rolls out from behind the curtain. She's been decapitated by Chucky. And surprise, but not really, it is a new freshly faced Chucky. It is the Chucky doll that Caroline had. They swap bodies. So not a really crazy twist that we weren't seeing coming, but still very exciting that we're probably going to see Chucky just swap bodies throughout the season as we get more Chuckies probably along the way as well. But a very fun episode this week, episode 5 of Chucky. Share all your thoughts down below and any theories you may have for the next episode, because I think things are going to start ramping up. Like I said, Jennifer Tilly is in town, Nika's in town. Also, Kyle and Andy have to show up at some point too. That has to be coming in the very near future. So I think it's just going to keep ramping up to the crazy finale. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thank you guys so much for our reviews. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like on the video, so subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So update my reviews, show in the boxing and more. For the next time, see you guys later.